After what seems like an eternity, I finally have Ayaneo's Pocket Ace, the handheld that was announced way back in April of this year, launched in May, and just now reaching my hands, along with many other frustrated customers. Yes, some customers were able to get their units on time, but many of the SKUs, including the one that I wanted and colorways, were massively delayed. In fact, so delayed that after waiting for almost 2.5 months, I gave up on Indiegogo and I canceled my order. But then, to my surprise, in late August, it was on the store, the Ayaneo store. So I placed an order. And guess what? It arrived in less than 2.5 weeks, teaching me that maybe it's not the best thing to give Ayaneo my money up front to Indiegogo and simply just wait until the product is available. Even worse is, as I show the screenshot from the store here, the price was the same price that you could supposedly get it for only as an early bird. Yes, the same price. I paid the same price I would have paid when I ordered way back in May and waited forever and finally gave up and canceled in late July, only to order it from their store in August at the same price and get it in 2.5 weeks. What is going on here? In the meantime, since that was announced, there have been dozens of other products announced and many launched, like the Pocket S2 and the Conquer Fit, which launched this morning. And it's just insanity. Odin, the Odin Thor, or the Thor, is being sold directly by AYN. Yes, they're putting the 3 on Indiegogo. Retroid sells straight from there. Ayaneo needs to follow this path. Ambernick will release a device and have it ready to ship days after announcing it. It's time to fire Indiegogo. It's time to stop supporting that and giving them interest-free loans. It's time to tell Ayaneo, you're a big boy now. Sell directly and only when the product's ready. Anyways, let's hop in. Remember to hit that like button and subscribe. And let's take a look at the product and do my unboxing and review. All right, so we'll start with the packaging here, and it's in a nice box. We do have the Ace, I call it the logo, I guess, or theme that's going on here. This is a nice box. It does have a picture of the handheld on top that's raised and texture that you can feel. So I really like that. Ayaneo usually has really good presentation when it comes to their boxes, so we're pretty much in good hands here. Looking around the sides of this, we have the Ayaneo name, along with the little motto, real gamers, no gamers, on the side of it. We do go to the far side here and we are greeted with some specs. We have a retro design, a 4.5-inch 3.2 full screen display, Hall sensing joysticks, Hall sensing triggers, a 6,000 milliamp hour battery, a fingerprint recognition system, a surge linear motor, which was a big deal for them, this motor thing, and a micro SD slot. Moving to the bottom over here, we do have our normal stickers which identify the model. So this is, again, a Snapdragon G3X Gen 2 gaming platform. This is the Lat Blade White that they're calling it, the 8 gigabyte with 128 gig storage running Android. So nice packaging. If you got IgG, you probably got a bunch of extra goodies like I usually get. But let's get this thing out of here and open the box. And we're greeted immediately with a foam insert here. And this is a nice looking foam insert. It does, again, have sort of an outline of the handheld on it. This is nice to keep it nicely packaged. The handheld is right below it. Again, if you saw how my package arrived, this is what helped protect the insides of it, even though that the outside UPS brown box was, pretty much trash. Moving this out of the way, and we do have a couple of things down here. So we'll move this out of the way for a second. And we do have a little box here. And we open up this box, and what do we have? And we have First, we have some extra stick caps. So we do have some different sizes. Looks like these are larger stick caps if you want to change them out for it. And then below that, we do have a USB-C to C cable. So pretty standard stuff there. No charging brick, just a cable and some clips. Opening up here, we do have our manual and some of our instruction sets, and then we do have a quality control sticker here that kind of indicates that this has been checked out, which is great because early units had some light bleed problems and stuff for the first shipped ones. So really good to see that they're doing that quality check here. But let's get this put back in the box and let's get it out of here and take a look at the handheld and start to see what, our 5-month journey has done and paid off. All right, first in the hands, and this is a nice, attractive handheld. So obviously I knew what this had looked like from the images and everything, but actually holding this thing, it feels really good. I think a 4.5-inch to 5.5-inch screen is a sweet spot for Dead Fred. I really like those sizes best. As far as real true pocketability, that's up for chams. There is other ways to get something a little bit more pocketable that can play a lot, but if you want high-end gaming, this is probably going to be one of the better high-end gamings, especially since you can just take the stick caps off if you really need to get it in there and keep them safe in a bag or something. So holding this, it feels nice in the hands. Now I was a little surprised because if you know me, I really like metal. And the Pocket S that launched, the original Pocket S, had this nice metallic mid frame around it along with the glass and plastic, giving it a really nice solid feel, a premium feel that I really enjoyed. I like the touch of the mix of the metal, plastic, and glass together. Next, they launched the Pocket Micro, which continued this trend. Again, we had the glass, the metal frame, along with plastic on the back of it, giving it that nice premium feeling for it. Since we're still playing in the $350 to $450 range, I really thought that there would be something to this. Maybe I just didn't see it in the images or whatever, but upon picking this up, this is different. This feels just like plastic. Now, it's good plastic, and it does have a glass front. The interesting thing about the glass front is I almost thought it didn't because it blends in and mixes very well. If you're someone who doesn't really care for glass fronts, I would say that this one is a lot more subtle, and possibly it's just because of this white model. I don't know since I don't have the other models. Leave me a comment. But I find that the difference between the models here as I show them side by side is the glass on this just seems to blend and be a little less obvious, which I think would appeal to a wider audience. So pretty good for that. Now let's start the testing of the buttons. And the buttons are a little bit clicky. They're not overly loud, a little bit clicky. I like these buttons. It's very interesting because comparing the buttons with the Pocket S, which had those really tiny, almost shiny plastic glass type buttons, we have the unmarked versions here, were a little bit small for my liking. Would prefer they're a little bit bigger. So we do have bigger buttons here. They're larger and flatter, but then we had something that was a little more round if you go to the Pocket Micro. I really like the Pocket Micro buttons. I thought they were great. And someone like Retroid or Ambernick continues to use the same buttons. It seems like Ayaneo is still experiencing. But these buttons are not bad at all. I do find them to be enjoyable to use and hold. Moving on to the D-pad, and this is where I give it another sort of I'm not too sold on this. The D-pad here feels quite different. I really, really like the D-pad on the Pocket S. So I show it here. It has some kind of glass over it, but it pivots, it moves well. It's really well designed. I've always liked the D-pad on this. I thought it feels great. They went for a different D-pad on the Pocket Micro, but I still liked it. It had nice depth to it. It rocked well. It felt good. So for some reason, they continue to change, and I'm not sure they should do that because the D-pad on here is just not as enjoyable to use as those other two D-pads. So for me, I'm finding this to be a little bit of a letdown with the Pocket S. Now these sticks, let's talk about these sticks. I do have some custom 3D printed sticks on here because it uses a very similar one that you would use on Retroid or Odin's or whatever. So it does have replaceable stick tops, which are great. These sticks move great. They feel great. They're clicky. They're in the bottom configuration. I think these are amazing sticks. So no issues with that. I really love they use those sticks. So again, it does come with an extra set you can swap out, or the ones by default, or get some 3D printed ones. Check out some hype sticks. I think you would like those as well. Now, the bottom part here is really nice. We have this little shelf thing that's kind of at a corner here, giving it a nice retro look to it. We do have our Ayaneo buttons over here, which, control things like your thermals, your settings and everything. We have a home and a button here, and then we have start and select up here. I think it's good placement of the buttons. They're not overly loud. They're pretty quiet, actually. So they're actually kind of quiet. I like that. Then we go to the shoulder buttons, and we have inline shoulder buttons along with analog triggers. This is a really good thing. One of the differences was people were wondering how this would stack up against the KTR1. So as I show footage of it and the KTR1 side by side, the KTR1 obviously has inline buttons instead of stacked shoulder buttons. So I say that it is a definite improvement over that. If you were hesitant about the KTR1, you love the screen, this is another chance to try this screen. It's a great screen. That 3:2 ratio at the high resolution is a beautiful, beautiful solution here for the Pocket Ace. And then on the top here, we do have this fingerprint reader, which works very well. We have an RC and LC button, along with our volume rocker, which is kind of raised up high, almost a little ridiculously high, which I guess is good because it's even with the RC and LC, but it just seems a little funny because it's a rocker button for that. On the bottom, we have a USB-C port. Nothing on the sides except your SD card slot, which is great. And so pretty basic stuff. We do have a vent hole on the back and top here for that. We have those bottom firing speakers, which I think sound great. And then the back of it's pretty standard stuff here, looking like we're expecting it for it. So overall, I think this has a good weight. I think it feels good in the hands. I wish it had some of that metal touch that we've seen, especially in this ballpark, or it should have been $100 less. Maybe it should have been $100 less. This is a hard sell now, 5 months later, when we have all kinds of other things coming out with better chips. But it really is more of a retro style handheld, more of the typical. And there are a lot of you that hate metal, so maybe they're appealing to that. And I think you would like this quite a bit. So let's get this thing fired up and talk about it. Hey guys, sorry to interrupt the video, but I wanted to take a moment to talk to you about something sent to us by our friends at Mech DIY. So they sent us over an amazing card. It is the Surwish 256 gigabyte card for your Miu Mini Flip. That's right. If you want to have just a pre-set up experience with the games properly scraped with an amazing custom firmware that they created, then check out the link at the bottom here and get your own version of the Surwish OS for the Miu Mini Flip. Now, I've been playing this and testing it out, and it has a bunch of awesome themes. It's got everything set up easy to go, and it is based on a version of CrossMix. So yes, this is awesome. I do highly recommend this. And again, if you already have the Flip, you can simply buy the card, or you can buy the card with the Flip itself. Again, hit the link at the bottom. We want to thank our friends at Mech DIY for sending this over for us to look at and test. But yeah, this Surwish is awesome. Also, check out the open source firmware at the GitHub. If you would want to set it up yourself, you can do that as well. Anyways, back to the show. Many people have avoided Ayaneo from all of the chatter on the internet, but I feel like there were a lot of people that finally tried Ayaneo with the Pocket Ace. And for those of you who have gotten it, this could be your first experience. Or those of you checking out this video and considering it, you should know that it does come with a launcher called Ayaspace, which has been greatly developed over the last 2 years. I first encountered this almost 2 years ago on the Pocket Air, the Dimensity 1200 Pocket Air that launched. And back then at the time, it needed a lot of work. It still needs work, but this is constantly updated. Say what you will about the problems that Ayaneo has with their launches, with their shipping and everything, but they are dedicated to updating these things. They continue to update the software on these as they're released, and they're very clever, which is really good. I like the implementation here. Now, this is Android. This is a typical Android. So you can do like I do, and you can change the home launcher to any launcher you want. You might put Beacon on here. You might put Reset Collection, or you could put Emulation Station Desktop Edition like I like. In fact, I'll show you the ESDE front end as it loads up here. You can make this load right into this, and I do have a really nice, someone's put out a really nice theme that matches here. So if you want to have it match and look just like it does for the Pocket Ace, I think that's great. So as I show you through here what it looks like using Emulation Station Desktop Edition, this is a paid file that you have to pay for, but it's well worth the investment to support developers. To get it, you can make this almost consoleized, boot directly into this, skip the Android stuff, and go straight into something like this that plays and has all your games ready. Now, you will have to scrape them, get them set up, and this is not a video about how to do all that, but it is a nice look. I think this thing looks terrific. Now let's talk about this screen. This screen is special because it has what's called the golden ratio, the 3:2. So many of the different systems on here have different screen ratios natively, from something like the Super Nintendo that would have a native ratio of the Nintendo would have a native ratio of 8:7, to the other 4:3 content handhelds like PS2, GameCube, to the 16:9 ratio with the widescreen like your PSP, or your newer stuff like your Switch. And this has a CPU that up until now has been at the very top of what Android gaming in this sector has provided. We do have some more choices coming. We have the Snapdragon Elite coming, which are going to replace this, but this G3X Gen 2 is a very capable machine. As I show you some footage here, it can even emulate Nintendo, that other system. So yes, you can do that. You can have it emulate that. You can set it up. You might want the storage for it. Now, some of these games on the secret system might need the 12 gigs of RAM, but I'm running the 8 gig RAM version here, and it's playing most everything I want. Again, this should not be seen as your primary, if you really want the best Switch experience, get a Switch right now. But as far as emulation, this is going to do it. You might want to get the 12 gig to future proof or to play a few certain games like the Zelda games. But besides that, I think you're in pretty good company with the 8 gig model and saving money. My overall experience, let's wrap up this review. I had a lot of frustration with trying to order this until it was available on their site. There are people who still don't have their unit that ordered like me on Indiegogo. I was able to order on the store and get it sooner. This should not be happening. This is not the way it should be. I think that Ayaneo needs to change up and do things a little differently. They did launch the Classic, the Pocket Micro Classic directly, so I know they can do it. I know these are big investments. There's a lot of money. There's a lot of issues, and they're just trying to innovate. I love the innovation. I just don't think the innovation is great if you can't get a hold of it and you frustrate your customer base. It's just not going to worth it. Now, for Dead Fred, how do I rate this? Out of all the Ayaneo handhelds that I've had, this one, unfortunately, does not rise to the top of it. I like this handheld quite a bit, but not as much as my Pocket S. I still would pick this up and play it. It's 16:9. Yes, I like 3.2, and as I show you some Game Boy footage on here, Game Boy looks amazing on here. But Game Boy also looks amazing on this one as well. So it's kind of like, I'm not sure what the case is for here. Yeah, you can bump up and start playing PS2 fully, some GameCube, Switch, which you're going to be very limited on this one with. But if you really want a good Game Boy experience, you're going to get it here. Or, even over here. This was my preferred way to play Game Boy. This one would replace it. I do think that I would have probably the best experience playing Game Boy Advance, emulated, upscaled, shaders, all that using this. So don't get me wrong, it's a beautiful screen. But Overall, I just think that at the price they're asking, Ayaneo dropped the ball here. There's just too many problems with this launch. This could have been the handheld for people, for the masses, but Ayaneo bungled. It's just not it. There's more choices out there. I just say save your money. Sorry, it's just not. It's not what I hoped it would be. But let me know your feedback. Let me know what you think. I think there are some fans of this Pocket Ace out there. I want to know, do you like it? Do you think it's worth all the struggles to get it and all the problems with it? Leave us a comment and let us know. Remember to hug your loved ones and love your hugged ones because tomorrow is never promised. We'll see you next time, Deadheads. Different out.